rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick, and I have been sitting and considering things that are existential to our environment today. For an example, one of my existential questions is, do we really have a G as a Whiskey Warrior P1? Does he really have a couch upon which he sits? Does he really have a man cave? See, these are the existential questions that we need to answer. Not really. It was just a conversation where we were talking about everything in terms of where G was located, because sometimes G's on the couch, sometimes he's in his man cave. I think a lot depends on whether or not Ms. T banishes him to the man cave. Nobody ever admits it, but I digress. All right. And no, I'm not an environmentalist. At least not in the way that you're thinking I am, there, Bonnie. Oh, hello, folks. I have got a series of videos that we're going to start off tonight with, that are, well, you know, they kind of, you beg the question of whether or not they actually burn the Democrats as they go along. Plus, there's some high movement afoot in Virginia regarding that redistricting. Yeah. We're going to go and check that out as well toward the end of the night. Oh, so let's buckle up and get things kicked off. We are at the top of the order. That's right. We are at the top of the order. So that means our wonderful, fantastic, and incredible Ms. Amy is up for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mind, please stand, remove your hat, if you're wearing one like me, place your hand over your heart, and follow along with Amy as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, Amy, for sending me and reciting that wonderful pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, attach it to an email address. Attach it to an email, and then address that email to me. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I have 23 of these. I'd like to have 26 by the end of 2026. So if you haven't done yours yet, I would appreciate it. And all you need to do is recite or record the pledge, in your way. And then, of course, send it on to me. If you record it on your phone, there is an option called the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option. And you'll be able to share it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And that will take care of it. You'll send it off to me, and then I'll get you into the rotation as soon as possible. Oh, goodness, I'm so lost. All right, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off with tonight's headline sponsor, which is theflagshirt.com. I'm wearing one of their wonderful men's cotton polos right here. This is the American flag themed red, white, and blue. I've got the field of stars, the red bars, the white bars. I mean, just some wonderful, well, they're stripes, not bars. But anyway, good old glory colors, the colors of the United States in a shirt. And it's awesome. And you can find yours at theflagshirt.com. Head on over there and check out all of their men's, women's, kids, made in the USA accessories in all the wonderful red, white, and blue, as well as other patriotic indicators, icons, whatever. I mean, you've seen the shirts. I've had, there's the Liberty Bell. They've got the Lincoln Memorial. They've got Mount Rushmore. They've got planes. They've got, eagles. They've got all kinds of stuff. But head on over to theflagshirt.com and check out everything. And hey, if you happen to order, well, before I get into that, don't forget to hit the America's 250th collection. That's for the America's 250th anniversary. That's the collection. They've got several styles that have the numbers 250 on them, which is awesome. We got to celebrate, man. 250 years for this country, the greatest country this planet has ever seen, right here in America. Anyway, as I was saying, if you purchase $75 or more of their gear, you will receive free shipping right now. So order $75 or more and you'll receive free shipping. But I know not everybody can order $75 of their product. Well, for whatever reason, maybe you don't like everything that you see. Maybe you just can't afford it at this time. You're paying off those, the tax bills or whatever else. So what you can do, though, in order to save yourself a little bit of dough, is head on over to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online, where you will be presented with a coupon code that you can copy and paste into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get yourself $5 off your order on American Perspective. Go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. You'll be presented with a coupon code. Copy and paste that coupon code into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, and you'll get $5 off your order on American Perspective. Head on over to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. That's right. Get patriotized. Well, it's always fun to see a not-so-smart reporter or journalist ask what is considered to be an incredibly stupid question by our president. And then, of course, watch the fallout. And apparently, yesterday, PBS's White House correspondent Liz Landers asked a question that Trump thought was, kind of stupid. And one thing, by the way, one little note I just want to point out, that apparently, reportedly, allegedly, Liz Landers is the wife of none other than CNN's, or former CNN, not wife, sorry, my bad, his girlfriend of CNN disgraced reporter Jim Acosta. So now we understand where you've got the context of where the question comes from. I got two clips on this. The first one is Donald Trump, his first reaction to the question, and then the second one is an expounding part that he discusses with regards to the question. So let's head on over and take a listen to the first part of the question. Oh, come on. I hate it when the internet does this to me. Hold on. Here we go. going to be this way, isn't it? Well, let's reload it. What happens? Here we go.
Would you use a nuclear weapon against Iran? You posted on Truth Social a few weeks ago.
We don't need it. Why do I need it? Why would a stupid question like that be asked? Why would I use a nuclear weapon when we've totally, in a very conventional way, decimated them without it? No, I wouldn't use it. A nuclear weapon should never be allowed to be used by anybody.
Oh, I guess that answers that question. Well, that's not the only thing. He also expounded upon it. And I think in this way, he's sort of attempting to explain to these people and justify to these people that, well, there's a reason why we went into Iran. Or at least why we bombed Iran. Take a listen.
I think that there's nothing worse than a nuclear weapon that takes out one of your cities or two of your cities or three. I think there's nothing worse than a nuclear weapon that's going to destroy the Middle East, including Israel. I think there's nothing worse than Europe being under attack by people that have missiles now that reach Europe. As you know, they don't reach us, but they reach Europe. But they will reach us at some time, probably the not too distant future, unless we stop them now. I think there would be nothing worse than having nuclear holocaust in Europe, London, Paris, various places in Germany, all targeted. No, what I say is you can't let them have. I don't think it will happen, by the way. I really think we actually, it turns out that we are drill baby drill, and it turns out we're producing a lot of oil, and they're buying the oil. They're going to Alaska, they're going to Texas, Louisiana, and our guys have done a fantastic job. We're putting out right now more oil and gas than we ever have in the history of our country. And one other thing, there are more people employed today in the United States than ever in the history of our country.
Well, toward the end there, he, of course, was justifying some other things, in terms of the situation that we have in the country. And, probably responding to another question or something like that was asked in between that caught his mind. But anyway, here you go. So, no, Donald Trump doesn't believe in nuclear weapons. There you go. Okay, Bonnie asks the questions. Then why are gas prices so high? Because of the fact, Bonnie, that we do not control the global oil prices. And unfortunately, we're not buying our own oil, at least not all of it. We're contributing it to the global market, the global economy. And so, unfortunately, the price of a barrel of oil, we would have to seriously mass produce a crap ton more than what we actually are in order to be able to influence the market, the global market. So that's why. And gas prices are high in many places too, due to taxes and everything else. And, as 3 Chevy also points out, we are able to produce oil, but this country hasn't had a refinery, an actual refinery, that we haven't had an actual refinery built. Like I pointed out in another episode a long time ago, we had our first refinery break ground in 2024. So it takes a while to build one of those things. So we're behind on refineries. We can drill it as often as we like, but we're behind on refining the oil. And we're going to continue to be behind on refining until we can start cutting back some of the EPA regulations and everything else and the red tape that, the EPA and the government and the Democrats in their war on oil and gas production, until we can roll some of that stuff, we need to roll and get some of that stuff taken care of. Plus, too, we also have other things that are going on, like transportation and everything else. It's, we don't have that Keystone Pipeline XL anymore because that was going to be a huge boon to the market, to our market. That was going to allow us to pump just a magnitude greater of oil into the country for refining and everything else. Now we're still stuck with the railroads and things of that nature and all of the regulations that go along with that. So, there's a lot of reasons why gas prices are high. The main one being, of course, that we do not control the global price of a barrel of oil. And that's what everybody runs off of, is the global price. So, anyway. All right. Let's move on. Greg Gutfeld. Yeah, I don't really watch him that much, but occasionally I run across clips. And these clips, well, they kind of make me think that maybe I should actually watch him. Anyway, the token Democrat on the panel known as the Five that shows up on Fox News, Jessica Tarlov. Yeah. She decided to put her opinion in, which of course is false, but her opinion basically is that she is still claiming that rally in Charlottesville, where the Fine People hoax came from, was literally paid for by the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, according to the allegations that the DOJ leveled earlier this week against them. Well, Greg Gutfeld decided, I can't let you do that. I can't let you tell our viewers that. And so he lays into her. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that smackdown.
And it's
what
exposed.
Hate crime hoax?
The liberal goes, Justice Smollett, anyone?
No, I didn't
how about
say
the banana peel on the bench?
Yeah.
How about the
Walmart
noose at the
shooter is
racetrack?
a banana peel. What hoax have you actually seen here? You don't think that hundreds of people showed up at the Unite the Right rally that weren't this informant, that weren't persuaded by his vehicle that got them there? Which
Who was the informant?
I don't. What?
You don't know. Was it the leader? An informant is not a leader.
Do you think
it's also? I mean,
you think there are white supremacists there? That it's not real?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Are you
All I know is I never heard of it until the day that it happened. You act like you can take the word for a bunch of corrupt people.
Proud Boys.
So you're saying this wasn't created. You're saying this just was an organic event, just like every left-wing event. It just happened. All these right-wingers showed up. Nobody else knew about it. And you know what? Nobody.
People are real.
Nobody.
The white supremacists
You know
are real,
what?
who get the call to action.
Let me do the simplest analogy. This is like when somebody says, on average, men are taller and way more than women. And then one woman goes, but what about her? And they point to a WNBA player. Yes, Jessica, I'll give you. There probably is a bigot somewhere, but you guys created a false flag that there was this immense movement going on in this country that then put targets on people like Charlie Kirk's back, and he's dead. And a lot of other people were either threatened, physically attacked because of a false flag, which painted an entire, basically, millions of people as white supremacists. You guys ran with it. Imagine if Trump had not won and Kamala Harris had won. Imagine where the SPLC would be now. Imagine how torn apart this country would be. And by the way, I hope that this thing mends, but I don't know, because there are people like you, Jessica, who have such a sunk cost in this belief that this is a belief you were tricked into believing, to think that there's all these racists hiding behind every Cracker Barrel. No, you know what the racists were? They were the anti-racist black activists who saw this as a way to go after whites. This racism that you created was designed to allow for a different kind of racism. And I go back to the contrast. We don't have to defend our racists because we don't know who they are, because you create them. Meanwhile, we don't have to make up your racist because you're standing there with Hassan Piker. These guys are right there in our face.
Well, Greg is not wrong. Oh, yeah, he is not wrong in that. I got to tell you. You know, that's the thing that's amazing about this whole SPLC thing, is that people don't seem to understand this whole thing, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which claims to be attempting to stamp out racism, was paying people to create racism. Those are the allegations. Now, that's fraudulent, which is why the DOJ is going after them. Well, Trump has now gone on record, and unfortunately, as much as I would love for this to happen, I do not see any constitutional or legal way or legal means to get this done. And unfortunately, Trump, the man's frustrated. I get it. He takes a lot of pot shots. He's had like all kinds of pot shots taken at him. He is in some respects, he is completely doing what is considered to be a thankless job outside of the conservatives who have a much better grasp on reality than the left does. But he's consistently under a cloud, let's say. He's constantly been drugged through the mud, both in the media as well as through the legal system. He's constantly having to spend essentially millions of dollars to defend himself. And so hey, sooner or later, everybody's going to crack. Let's just be honest about this. But President Trump today called for the 2020 election to be permanently wiped off the books, provided that the Southern Poverty Law Center is convicted of making fraudulent payments, allegedly totaling $3 million to members of white supremacist groups that the organization claims to actually fight. He wrote in a fiery Truth Social post, quote, the Southern Poverty Law Center, one of the greatest political scams in American history, has been charged with fraud. This is another Democrat hoax, along with Act Blue and many others. Now, here's the thing, folks. I'm sorry. As much as I would love to see something like this happen, legally, there's nothing that can be done. Now, I get where he's coming from, because there was a section, a segment on Dan Bongino's show today where he basically laid out the case where Joe Biden would not have become the nominee of the Democrat Party. That Joe Biden, was actually pushed forward because Bernie Sanders, of course, was going to take control of the party, and the Democrat elite establishment did not want Bernie Sanders to take control of the party at the time. Now, the thing about it is that, again, as much as just like when Donald Trump was accused of saying that he did not agree with the Constitution when he mentioned that we should suspend the Constitution due to the fraud that happened in 2020. And granted, there wasn't a lot of, proof at the time outside of what Trump may have already known. But here's the thing. There's nothing in the Constitution, and there's no path. There is no demonstrable path legally to roll back an election once it's been certified. So as much as I would love to sit here and tell you that, oh yeah, we should go back and relitigate 2020 again and, take it off the books and everything else, this is just wishful thinking. It really is. And as much as I would love to say that, yes, this is just yet another thing that we could talk about in terms of, things like, all of a sudden the ballot drops, that probability is completely against, the laws of probability is completely against the fact that you would have batches and batches and batches that are coming in at 100% for one candidate. That we have, the entire thing about the Hunter Biden laptop story, which would have swayed voters in the other direction. and that got crushed by the mainstream media. I mean, all this really does in terms of the Southern Poverty Law Center, outside of, the legal, and believe me, they should get whatever is legally coming to them for certain because of all the crap that they did and have done. But beyond all of that, the challenges that you have here is just basically pointing out, look at how many fronts. Look at how many fronts the leftist lunatics that are part of the Democrat Party attempted to do. And if you have any belief, even just the smallest amount of belief, that there is a God in heaven who wants to have the earth, actually being taken care of by his people, by his worshipers, then you cannot sit here and tell me that there isn't something, whether you want to call it in God or not, but there is something that has protected Trump for all of this time. I mean, think of all of the things that have stacked up against him that we are now finding out about. The fact that he missed by mere millimeters, getting killed on camera, live in Butler. And any other number of threats that could have come that we don't even know about. You sit here now. I'm not saying that Trump is, he is Christ-like in any way, shape, or form, but I can tell you there is some divinity going on here. There is a potential of divinity going on here, because this is just absolutely amazing. The more that we find out how stacked the deck was against Donald Trump, for him to have come back in 2024 is nothing short of a miracle. All right. Now, we're going to have to obviously keep in mind here that we're going to have to keep in mind that we're going to have to watch this Southern Poverty Law Center trial once it finally comes out to see what else is going on here. But we've got a whole bunch of other things going on. I mean, a slew of other things. For an example, you remember Ilhan Omar? Yes, Ilhan Omar, the Somalian in Congress. Yeah, who went from reporting her income of like less than $190,000 all of a sudden to have a net worth of like $30 million at one point. Well, she all of a sudden reversed that. I don't know if I mentioned it on this program, but she all of a sudden reversed that. And she basically is like, yeah, I'm no longer worth 30 million. And oh, by the way, that winery that was the major portion of her supposed millions, yeah, it apparently all of a sudden went poof and got dissolved very quickly. Well, there's also some other questions too. And Tom Homan was on with, I think it's Benny Johnson. They were talking at a Turning Point USA event. And well, Benny Johnson kind of had some hard-hitting questions for the Bulldog. And let's just say that the Bulldog, well, he handled it quite, shall we say, politically. Take a listen.
I sat down with the vice president. He was talking about fraud. He just finished up his first roundtable meeting about fraud and how to attack it with the entire department, with all the department heads. Very impressive. Of course, everybody's in favor of this. And I asked about the Somali daycare fraud. And he just straight up jumped right in and said, Stephen Miller's upstairs, and he has proof that Ilhan Omar lied on her immigration forms. We have that paperwork. We know she did this. And now we're looking for how to take action. Can you fill us in? Do you know what's going to happen? Is the Trump administration going to go there? The floor is yours.
The whole file is being reviewed. A lot of smart people are on it. Stay tuned.
Could you color for us what of the elucidated and many crimes there are that it could be? Because
I cannot get ahead.
There's like a lot of potential things that could have been there.
I can't get ahead of the investigation, but I know that some of this. I know people are involved in the review, and they're really smart people, and it's in good hands.
All right, it's in good hands. Okay, we got the Allstate endorsement from Tom Homan, and
well, that's sort of interesting. I mean, granted, Tom Homan didn't come out and say anything in particular with regards to this, but that's quite interesting that he is at least admitting the fact that there are people that are looking at this. Well, towards that end, the Trump Department of Justice has now moved to revoke citizenship for hundreds of naturalized immigrants. Apparently, the Trump administration is, of course, ramping up efforts to revoke the U.S. citizenship of hundreds of naturalized citizens, assigning cases to regular prosecutors in order to go and expedite the process. So apparently they identified 384 foreign-born naturalized Americans for potential denaturalization. And they assigned these cases to regular prosecutors to increase the pace of these revocations. The move marks a significant shift from the traditional, much slower process of handling such cases through the Immigration Litigation Office at the Department of Justice. Now remember, under federal law, citizenship can only be stripped if it was obtained fraudulently or through serious misconduct. And the government, of course, has to prove the case in court, making most of the time such actions difficult and time-consuming. Officials say that the push is aimed at rooting out individuals who lied or concealed disqualifying information during the naturalization process. The initiative reflects a broader policy shift to prioritize denaturalization, with the Department of Homeland Security increasing referrals in the DOJ at the highest volume in history. Traditionally, denaturalization cases were handled by special immigration litigators, but expanding responsibility to regular prosecutors could significantly increase the number of cases processed. The move follows earlier directives encouraging agencies to refer hundreds of potential denaturalization cases each month. I wonder, could Ilhan Omar be one of the 384? That's a good question. All right. Let's see. What do we have here? Do I have anything? Yeah, no, I don't have anything on the... That's okay. I don't necessarily need an ad. I did a couple yesterday, so we're good to go. All right. Let's shift gears over to the East Coast of the United States, and let's talk about the redistricting. Yeah, we're finding out more about this redistricting thing that the Virginia Democrats tried to push through. Well, apparently, let's see, who is this? Luke Rosiak. Luke Rosiak has, well, he's posted a interesting thread on X. And he is making the claim, that Governor Spanberger, you know, the newly elected governor of Virginia, who was a Democrat, told localities not to actually post pictures of the resulting maps that would happen should the voters vote for the, well, fair redistricting. Could it be because the redistricting pointed out that it went from more of a 50-50 split in Virginia to a 9-1 or 10-1? Is it possible? Well, Luke Rosiak goes through, and here, let me just show you his first post. So here it is on X. And he points out, he's like, it's incredible. Governor Spanberger told localities not to post pictures of the gerrymandered maps that people were voting on, saying that they should direct people to the General Assembly's website if they really wanted to know what the new maps were going to look like. The only problem with that, of course, is that, well, the General Assembly also doesn't seem to show the maps either. So, despite, he continues, he says, despite asking people to vote in making a 52-48 state, having a 91-9 representation in Congress, the redistricting page on the General Assembly's website hasn't been updated in years, he claims. And it just links to the Redistricting Commission, which the amendment actually gets rid of, by the way. It also apparently has only the old maps. He further claims that he himself spent a while looking at the General Assembly's website, the Department of Elections, etc. He has not found any of the maps being prominently available on any public source. He's like, if they were there at all, they're not where voters could reasonably find them. And then here's the state. Apparently, he's got some screenshot of the redistricting frequently asked questions section where it says that, hey, the state's advising the counties not to actually post the new maps. Why do you think that might be? Because maybe if people saw the two maps sitting side by side, that they would go, the new one doesn't look all that fair. Well, he continues, and he goes, plenty of valid criticism about the media, but in this particular case, if it weren't for the media, voters would have had no idea that the ballot was actually asking them to institute the most extreme gerrymander in the country to disenfranchise half of the state. Now, this is the image of the new maps. The new map that would have been created, or that is supposedly going to be created based off of that balloting. And this, by the way, this photo comes from the Daily Wire. So where do I don't think Luke Rosiak was talking about the media, but I don't think it's the Dems media, really. Anyway, he continues on here and he goes, hey, looks like if I need to actually find the map, or if any voter really needed to find the map, well, they would have to go to, get this, lis.virginia.gov and somehow figure out how to search for the budget bill, and then click on the link to a site called blob.core.windows.net in order to pull up the map. Yeah. If you honestly think that somebody Somebody who really gets into research probably could have eventually found it. But there ain't that many of those. And there certainly ain't that many of those in terms of voters. So you'll recall, and when I was talking about this, that the question was asked with regards to whether, again, the question on the ballot pointed to the more fair, quote unquote, fairness, okay? The more fair map. And, yeah, there's a video here of believe it or not, it's a CNN reporter. I can't even believe. This is part of CNN's News Central. Co-host Brianna Keller asked Virginia Attorney General Jay Jones regarding all of this. And, let's just say, just listen to what the guy has to say here.
We're joined now by Virginia's Attorney General, Jay Jones. Sir, thank you so much for being with us. You're obviously familiar with the judge's argument here. Judge Hurley citing multiple substantial and procedural problems, including that the ballot question for the constitutional amendment was flagrantly misleading, as I said. The ballot question says new congressional districts will be temporarily adopted to, quote, restore fairness. Does he have a point that it's misleading?
Well, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you this afternoon. Look, we are excited that Virginia went out to the polls on Tuesday, made their voices heard. Turnout was robust. Both sides engaged in a vigorous campaign, and the yes side prevailed. And now, as Attorney General, my job is to enforce the laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And so we won't let one activist judge in one county in Virginia try to offset the will of the people of this Commonwealth, where more than 1.6 million voted yes. And so we will be in court very soon. My office appealed the decision, and we are going to get this resolved quickly so that we can bring some clarity to the situation.
I know that you're calling him an activist judge, but he is citing the Virginia Constitution, and legal experts that we've spoken to say what he's saying is going to create some pretty big challenges for you in court that you will have to overcome. So let's really look at the substance here. Factually speaking, the map gives Democrats an advantage in 10 of Virginia's 11 U.S. House seats.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause this right here, because this is exactly, this image right here is exactly what we're talking about. See, the current districts that are there, you can see on it would be your left side of the screen, okay? You're sitting there looking at it on the left-hand side is the existing maps. It is a 6-5 split. 6 Democrat, 5 voted Republican. Those are the current districts. That's almost a 50-50 right there. The new map, the new districts, as they change them, turn around and turn it into a 10-1, meaning 10 Democrat districts and 1 Republican district. Now, do you honestly believe that if they were asked the question, hey, we want to suspend the current redistricting. This is basically the question, I'm paraphrasing. We're going to suspend the existing process by which we redistrict for up until the 2030 census. We're going to redistrict it in order to maintain fairness. Fairness. Now, do you honestly think that a reasonable person would look at these two maps that are being shown on the screen right now? Do you honestly think that they would look at this and they would go, well, wait a minute, how is the new districts fair? The answer is they're not. That's the answer. Well, these guys are going to get their opportunity, as Jay Jones mentioned, They're going to get their opportunity in court. Because even so, okay, Keller kept talking, and Jones responded by saying, well, look, I'm really proud of Virginia. I believe the right to vote is sacred. He gave some more blah, blah, blah BS. And Keller, who is a leftist, okay, this is on CNN, folks. The leftist ended with, I don't hear you answering the substance of my question. Because Jones went on and was like, blah, 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 blah. You know, it was a rigorous campaign. Both sides were able to lay out their cases. The yes prevailed. The issue was presented to the people. Blah, 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 blah. His lawyers are top flight. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. He never answers the question, which is essentially, do you think restoring fairness, quote unquote, on that question could be misleading or confusing to some voters? Yeah. And he never answers that question. Basically what it is he's like, well, you know, and believe me, when they do this kind of stuff, this is exactly what they're thinking. I'm telling you, this is exactly what they're thinking. We know our voters are stupid. We know generally voters are stupid and they're not paying attention. The ones that actually aren't stupid are just not paying attention. And so what we're going to do is we're going to muddy the waters in terms of the question to make it so that somebody who is uninformed or stupid votes the way that we want them to vote. That is exactly how these people think. I'm telling you. They're yeah, well, the Virginia Supreme Court, they fast-tracked this. So the Virginia Supreme Court is going to begin hearing oral arguments on Monday on the challenge to the referendum. So the announcement on the court's docket came a day after the Tazewell County Circuit Court Judge Jack Hurley permanently blocked Virginia from certifying those results, ruling that the entire process was unconstitutional, meaning unconstitutional from the state constitution. And multiple Republican groups have challenged the referendum process in Hurley's court since the start of the year. The oral arguments are set for Monday, and they, of course, stem from a lawsuit that was filed by Virginia Senate Minority Leader Ryan McDougal from Mechanicsville, along with other Republican officials, according to Roll Call. So Hurley's ruling on Wednesday came in a case brought by the Republican National Committee, the National Republican Congressional Committee, and Representative Ben Klein. So, yeah. And by the way, he found that the amendment violated constitutional requirements governing how amendments must be passed, including the requirement that two legislative approvals are supposed to be separated by a House of Delegates election, which technically cannot occur until 2027 anyway. There's other statutory procedures and things like that. There's a list of like 5 or 6 things that are wrong with this. Well, a former attorney general went on CNN and was talking to Jake Tapper. And, he kind of points out that this might be a little bit of a slam dunk for the right. Let's take a listen to this.
Ken Cuccinelli, he's a Republican. Ken, good to see you. So first, I guess let's get to the breaking news. This judge in Southern Virginia ordering results to not be certified. The judge called the ballot language flagrantly misleading. What's your reaction?
Right. Well, it certainly was flagrantly misleading, but my basic reaction is that I appreciate lower court wins, but the Virginia Supreme Court is going to decide this. And to Terry's point about, well, hey, if they didn't decide it before, there's a reason the Supreme Court held off until after the vote. over 100 years of Virginia legal precedent says that the vote in a referendum is part of the legislative process. It's analogous to a governor signing a bill. You don't sue on a bill that hasn't passed yet. So what they've done here in terms of timing is very much in keeping with the Virginia legal history. What isn't in keeping with Virginia legal history is how this General Assembly has so blatantly ignored the requirements of the Constitution to amend the Constitution. So I think it's highly likely that this will be overturned probably in May.
So CNN's Manu Raju pressed Speaker Johnson today about some of the criticism from Republicans that the Republican Party, did not spend enough money to fight the Democratic measure. Take a listen.
Republicans have spent more money. Trump didn't barely touch his super PAC money. Should you guys have spent more money?
True. We don't know the final result, but the president's team spent a lot. We put in overall tens of millions of dollars on that ballot initiative.
I mean, given the fact that the margin was much more narrow than a lot of Democrats anticipated, what do you think? Did Republicans miss a chance here?
Well, there's no question that the 3 or 4 to 1 spending difference was the margin. You know, when all the votes are counted, this will be about a 2 or 3 point win for the yes side. That is, it's hard to say that money didn't make that difference, but now they have to win 4 constitutional challenges, state constitutional, to clarify, challenges, and they have to win all 4 of them to hold on to this referendum. I just don't think they can do it. There's some very basic processes in the Constitution for amending the Constitution that they ignored. And now they're going to say, just like Terry did, well, 3 million people voted and you can't ignore the will of the people. Well, they were ignoring the will of the people and how they brought this forward. And now we're going to have it decided by the Virginia Supreme Court. I wouldn't be surprised to see a 7-0 ruling throwing this out.
All right. To be continued, former Virginia Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli, thank you so much.
There you go. The Democrats, that's all they do, is they ignore rules. They don't give a crap. They ignore the rules because they have to have whatever they can possibly get because they don't have a platform to stand on. Their only platform is get Trump right now. Get Trump and control the world. And they're going to claim that that was fair, but think about this. Regardless of the money aspect, I mean, yes, they brought the money aspect up, and it is true the Democrats spent on a 3 or 4 to 1, ratio, much more money. But talk about how much more money that was in order to get a 2 or 3 point victory. So obviously there weren't as many stupid people out there as what you would think. But even so, some people are tricked by strange phraseology. I mean, there have been so many, I can just think of just here in my state, how referendums and initiatives and things of that nature get thrown on their ear because somebody decided to write something that was so convoluted you didn't know whether to vote yes or vote no. You had no idea. So, anyway, we're going to have to watch this. This is definitely coming up on Monday, so we're going to have to keep an eye on this for sure. All right. Well, there is, the Democrats, of course, are not finished. Do you remember when Chuck Schumer, on the eve of the Dobbs decision, was standing in front of the Supreme Court and he says, I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, so on and so forth. You will reap the whirlwind, that whole thing. Yeah, well, Hakeem Jeffries apparently is going to follow in that person's footsteps. Hat tip to Gunther Eagleman on X for this clip. Whew, take a listen to this.
How would Democrats respond if the Virginia nonpartisan Supreme Court does ultimately strike down the ski map and find the referendum illegal?
The law is with us, In Virginia, the facts are with us in Virginia, and the people are with us in Virginia. There's no basis in law or fact for the Virginia Supreme Court, under the Constitution that exists, particularly in the aftermath of a people-approved referendum, to do anything other than to allow it to move forward. Susan?
Okay. So he thinks that the people are going to allow it, or he's going to think that these things are going to happen in Virginia. Yeah, even though there are so many other things that are wrong about this entire thing. Now, not that I am really, giving anybody any grief over this, but he kind of sort of sounded like he was basically saying, well, yeah, you guys should be, you guys should really follow along with us. Yeah, except that isn't the case. Because the Constitution actually seems to have prohibited even bringing the referendum forth. So, yeah. Anyway. So, these people, I gotta tell you, these people. All right. Well, you remember in the closing minutes here, do you remember that, amnesty bill? Well, it was not called the amnesty bill. It was called the Dignity Act. And do you remember that was proposed and had a big proponent by Representative Maria Salazar? Well, she has now admitted why she brought it forward. Apparently, as she says, what they're calling the Dignidad, or the Dignity Amnesty Bill, is in large part about, get this, helping big business to have cheap labor. Oh my God. Talk about just laying all your cards on the table. I mean, we all know that the Democrats are like, well, the illegal aliens are kicked out of our country. Who's going to mow our yards? Who's going to take care of our yards? Yeah. Anyway, she obviously suggested that the amnesty would lower costs by driving down wages, arguing that Americans want affordability and they want affordable vegetables and fruits. Oh, so she's now actually one of those who believes that the illegal immigrants are only good for picking crops in the field. Talk about the soft bigotry of low expectations right there. Anyway, yeah. So, right. She was at a press conference where she said, quote, when people tell me that I am trying to help big business to have cheap labor, I'm going to answer them. It's not just big business. It's not just only agriculture or construction or hospitality or healthcare or manufacturing. It's more. The bill, of course, would grant amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants and block deportations. You remember I went through that entire thing not that much long ago. So, yeah. Basically, what they want, or what she's looking for, is she's looking for slave labor. Indentured servant labor. That's what she's looking for with this bill. People, we are so far off the mark as to where we should be today. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up, thumbs downs, or in the case of 3 Chevy, thumbs sideways or at an angle. Across all my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That's right, 1 hour later because it is Saturday. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.